Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this. This is the Dr. Joe Show. We got a very special episode today. We are at the family farm with Clyde Edgar. He is one of the managing partners, the chief managing facilitator of their farm. They got tens of thousands of acres of land.
Family farm's about 5,000.
Sorry, so it's about 5,000 acres of land. The family's owned the farm since 1932. Today, we're going to be talking about olive oil specifically. We are sitting in their bottling room for the olive oil, and this is just kind of where we're going to get started. So, Clyde, tell us, where should we begin?
Well, we wanted to be outside, but because of the Hillary's here, the storm, we came inside of the bottling room, and it's comfortable. We're right here. My wife is one of the owners of this farm. It was started in 1932 by her grandfather. He used to level ground in the early 20s and 30s and then sell it. Once he leveled a piece of dirt, he would sell it to farmers to farm. Well, after 3 or 4 years, he decided that if he could sell the ground to them and they earn money, why couldn't he do the same thing? So in the 30s, 1932, he started farming himself. And within 4 to 5 years, he had 1,200 acres and he went to 2,000 acres. World War II breaks out. He was doing a lot of flax, and the flax seed was used for ropes and whatnot, for ships. War came, and he earned enough to buy more land. So that's how the farm started. That was Jack Benson, and then my wife's father was John Benson. He took the ranch over, and now it's being run by one of her brothers, another son, another third generation, Steve Benson. So this is Benson Farms, of which my wife and I own the olive oil company called Desert Olive Farms. So basically, the family farms the olives all together, and then we started another company called Desert Olive Farms, to where we sell olive oil, olives, and different things.
And the primary way you sell the olive oil, you mentioned people will just come directly here. You sell in Yuma, downtown, and then you also sell in San Diego. Is that right?
I used to have 4 to 5 markets in San Diego where I went to farmers markets, and slowly I dissipated those markets because our store grew, and over the last 10 years, it's doubled and tripled in size. So rather than go to San Diego and spend that time, I try to focus my attention on the store, bottling, and doing everything we can right here. So farmers markets, the internet, we have a huge internet business. Locals come over to this, and then also at the store.
You have the internet business, so anyone watching this right now, how can they buy your oil?
If they go to Desert Olive Farms and they click on that website, it just opens up to a huge page.
We'll have it underneath. You guys can click.
Yeah, we got to put that in there.
And you'll see the retail store later in Yuma. You'll see it in this video, Dr. Joe Show.
Yeah, so, and I understand you do all the bottling.
Yes, we do the bottling here on site. The olives, what the term pressed means is years ago, they used to grind up olives with the donkey and the big stones and whatnot, and they would take the olive paste and put it on a table, and the table would have sides on it to where at night they would put boards and stones on it, and the weight of the stones would press the oil and water out of the mixture. And then you'd just be left with the solids on the table. Then the water and oil was put into vessels to which would separate the olive oil from the water. Well, today we use machines, and the machines will harvest the olives off the tree. Then we send the olives to another part of the ranch to where it is made into olive oil. Once it's made into olive oil, it needs to rest, what they call rest, and we will let it rest for 3 to 4 months to clarify it so that all the solids go down to the bottom with the help of gravity, and then you have olive oil. Once we have olive oil, we bring it to our bottling plant, to where we either bottle it as straight olive oil, or we make flavored olive oils. You can sell more gallon jugs, which were made from HDPE plastics, but now I use glass. It's a better product for olive oil to be selling the olive oil and balsamics that we have. So that's what I use.
Wow.
Great.
I guess I was gonna. We can discuss. We can go 2 different ways, and maybe we'll save some of it for the second half of this interview, which is going to be at the retail store.
Yeah, we're
But
going to go back to Yuma for the
you want to
second
do
part.
like the health benefit now, maybe, and the
We can
business
talk about
of it. Second?
and we should definitely talk about the history too,
Yeah.
about like where certain words come from and
Canola
and
oil,
how
for
things have
example.
changed. So you were talking about canola oil. So folks, maybe some of you grew up with or still have canola oil in your house, in your pantry. Listen to this.
Didn't you?
Pretty much basically, I'm, and I've, as I've told you before, I encapsulate what I've learned into how I describe oils to people, right, wrong, or indifferent. I never want to degrade or say anything negative about different products, but basically, canola oil is rapeseed oil from Canada,
And that's rape, not grape, guys.
right? RAPE.
Yeah.
And
People
rapeseed
often
oil.
think grape.
It's a yellow flower from up north, and it looks like mustard flower. And once it's processed, it's a seed oil. Once it's processed into oil, it is used as an industrial oil for machines to lubricate metal to metal contact. And it was used before World War II to help win the war. We used our fuels to fuel the engines and the mechanized parts, and the rapeseed oil from Canada was brought down, and it was inside of the engine because it had a high heat tolerance. And that high heat tolerance is an industrial thing. It wasn't for human consumption.
Past tense.
Past tense.
Okay. Just keeping that clear.
Yes. And
And what's the most widely consumed oil in the United States right now to eat, do you think?
probably some form of vegetable oil, which
Okay.
also is commingled with other oils, which one could be canola oil. A lot of products that do have canola oil in them, if you'll read the labels, on a label, it will have the very first and highest volume product inside of it, like
Mhm.
water, and then it goes down and it dissipates down. And every product you have inside of a bottle should be on that label.
What do you think about as a physician, clinician?
About-
Canola oil, vegetable oil.
Yeah, so canola oil and folks, the meaning of canola is CAN, that's Canada, and then OLA, oil less acid. So when it was getting approved,
Google it.
you were saying, so anybody can Google this. It's not
Wow.
it's not de-indexed yet, okay? But when they had all this rapeseed oil in Canada, they were basically trying to get rid of it, and so they brought it over to Congress. And they said, how do we make this food? And Congress said, we'll get rid of the acid. And they got rid of the acid. So it's rapeseed oil that's been deacidified, canola. That's what canola means. Canada, oil less acid.
And it's basically a seed oil, and seed oils are different than an olive oil.
Mhm.
Olive oil is from the fruit. It's from the meat. It doesn't come basically from the seed,
Uh-huh.
such as a corn oil would or a canola oil
Yeah.
or the rapeseed oil. And so seed oils are different than olive oil
Yeah.
in their nutrient value and what the value is for the human body.
And just from the medical side, folks, seed oils are generally omega-6 fatty acids, and olive oil, when it's made properly, is omega-3s that you should protect from oxidation. And as we'll probably talk about in a future podcast, omega-6s are actually not good for you. Academia for the last about 10 years, I want to say, based on the research I've done, has indicated that omega-6 is healthy and it's good for you. And yet there's these studies that come up saying omega-6 fatty acids increase inflammatory cytokines. They shrink your testicles and they cause just inflammatory damage to your body.
Well,
Whereas omega-3s work against that.
just like so many other products that are promoted, who's promoting that product and who's financing the promotion of that product?
Exactly. So when you look at who's financing, the studies, oftentimes the financing is coming from the companies that are making the product being studied. And we learn in medical school, EBDM, evidence-based decision making. The first thing you learn is who funded the study.
Who funded the study?
And
Huge.
It just seems like academia has totally forgotten that. But now there's another level of what I call scientism. You have people that have no financial disclosures. One guy writes something either saying sucralose is safe or omega-6s are good, and I have no financial disclosures. But you look at the person's primary job and they're on the board of some company that makes the product. And so, of course, there's no financial disclosures because you spent all your free time making this study and it got approved because you're friends with the peer reviewers. So, folks, science has been hijacked and it's been like that for decades.
And by the way, a recent article came out like 2 weeks ago. Something like 70% of peer-reviewed like academic research is potentially fraudulent.
Yeah,
this came out. Wall Street Journal had this.
Yeah, it's because you're my bro. Yeah, I'll approve your paper.
Food and drug and everything else.
Food and drug supplements. Yeah.
One of the things you and I talked about earlier was extra virgin olive oil. How you get extra virgin olive oil?
You have a bottle, right?
So what is extra virgin, and why do you call it extra virgin?
Well, basically, extra virgin is a term. You could put it on a Wheaties box. You could put it on a milk carton. It's extra virgin. It's the best. It's this and that. But extra virgin originally was, and that's on all of our bottles down. It's because once on olive oil, once you make olive oil that's been harvested, taken to the mill, and made into olive oil within the first 4 to 6 hours, you have the best quality, the freshest fruit, and you're going to have oil that is absolutely rock solid, the best olive oil you could potentially get. If you harvest today and you wait till tomorrow, the fruit's going to degrade. It will degrade faster than an apple, an orange, or any other fruit that's picked from a tree. And olives will degrade within 3 days to where you can't even make olive oil.
Oh,
you have to make olive oil if it's going to be the very finest within 4 to 6 hours into olive oil.
You were telling us that when we were doing the drive around, we got the B-roll.
Okay.
And so that machine you were talking about that grabs and shakes everything and gets a percentage of the olives off. You usually do that in the morning, I assume, so that you have the day to process the olive oil, right?
No, what we do is basically once the harvest starts, you've got a 3 to 4 week harvest.
Uh-huh.
You raise those trees all year long for a 3 to 4 week harvest. We pull that machine into the field at midnight because in September, October, you're in the 105 to 110 degree weather, and heat will hurt olives. So what we do is we send the machine out at midnight to where the temperature's around 95 to 100, and then it's going to go into high 80s by 6 in the morning or 8 in the morning. But when you start that machine at midnight, by 3 in the morning, you've got the first load that's going to go to the mill. That truck takes those olives to the mill to where they're washed. We grind them up and we put them in the malaxers and start to make olive oil.
So timing by the
Timing.
hour,
So
not
that's
just
the
the
timing.
day, the hour.
So it's midnight you start.
We don't just massively pick olives and say, okay, make olive oil.
Yeah.
We try to, it's like a ballet.
However, would people know the difference?
Would people know the difference? The people who have a palate would know the difference.
But for you guys, it's just to be pure to your craft.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Quality is the number one thing. As I've said many, many times, you never have to apologize for quality. And our olive oil is some of the finest quality that you can get. I'm not going to say it's the best. All up and down the California coast, you're going to have olive producers. You don't have them in Colorado. You don't have them in Mississippi. You don't have them in Michigan. Olives have to be grown in a Mediterranean climate.
That's California.
The Imperial Valley in California is a Mediterranean climate. There are billions of trees in Northern California. Mediterranean climate. They tried it in Texas. They didn't make it. They tried it in Arizona. The water table was off. If a tree is an olive tree and it freezes for longer than 4 hours, it kills the tree. You cannot grow olives in cold country. You have to have a Mediterranean warm climate. So that's why they prosper down here in the Imperial Valley. There's going to be more and more and more trees in the Imperial Valley. It will be a crop that will be good for our valley. It uses very little water, less water than some of the crops that are here now. And water is one of the most valuable assets we're going to have in the near future.
See, guys, I tell you, small is the new big. And some of these smaller companies like Clyde's, they're pure, they're true. Nobody would know if you picked them at 9 in the morning or 10. You said only the experienced palates, but you guys are true to your craft. That's how you do it.
You know, once that machine is picking the olives, the crew's already started getting the mill ready to receive the first batch.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the machine picks until, say, 6 in the morning, there's a 6-hour pick. The ones that are picked at 6 in the morning are going to be basically the last ones of the day, and it might be 11 or 12 and 11 in the morning or 12 at noon to when they get processed into olive oil.
Mhm.
At that point in time, we're done for the day. Then the cleanup crew takes care of the machine that was picking.
Yeah.
They make sure it's going to be ready for the next evening at midnight. The crew that's making the olive oil do all the things that they need to do inside of the oil mill where the olive mill is. Once the olive mill is done for the day, it gets cleaned out thoroughly so that it gets ready. So it's all a ballet. It's just like throwing that ballerina up and having that guy catch her. Once the olives are picked, they throw them over to us. We catch them. We put them in the machines, and we put them in the tanks, and then they're made into olive oil.
Wonderful. And so when the olives sit around for too long, I guess, do you know anything about what chemically happens to the oil? Is it just that it just gets oxidized? Is
Oxidation
it an enzymatic
occurs,
thing?
that the olives start to lose moisture. Once you lose the moisture, which is keeping the oil buoyant inside, then it's going to start to degrade because the heat comes to it.
Okay.
Worst thing in the world for fruit is heat. Once the heat comes to it, and olives are the ones in this hot climate that we've got, olives are the ones that'll degrade faster than any other fruit. And what most people don't realize, olives are a fruit. And you need to take care of that fruit juice as quickly as you can, and that turns into olive oil.
Cool.
Think we should save the rest for the retail store? Or
Maybe
you have
save
more-
it.
you
Yeah,
have
maybe
a few
save
more
the rest for
questions?
the retail store.
All right.
Just go right on
Joe
around
taught
this
me
one.
a thing or two,
So
man.
we are here at Desert Olive Company with Clyde, the CEO, and the primary worker, the primary bottler,
I'm the facilitator.
the facilitator. There
My
we go.
wife's the owner. I'm the facilitator. Just go on out.
Okay.
That's where I live.
So we are. So we're driving around his property. We got Hurricane Hillary out there, but we are shooting anyway.
Just go on to the end, turn right, go down to Hoveley, and we'll look at those trees quick. It'll give you an opportunity to see what a real orchard is. This is a playground. My wife put these trees in so that our grandchildren would have a forest. We have a mountain house in the mountains, but it takes 2 hours to get there. So when the grandkids come out, they say to me, "Come on, Popsy, let's go get into the forest and look for bears and dinosaurs." So we go out in the forest, and while we're looking for bears and dinosaurs, we find little boxes that miraculously, when you open them up, have like Ziploc bags with M&Ms in it or peanuts, and they're treasures. And so they love to go out into the magic forest. That's what these trees are for my wife's pleasure. So go ahead and turn right. These are the 2 dead trees. They're kind of a marker. Kind of good for
We
you.
went around.
Right, you went down on that side. That's where Google takes you. You can
This
just,
is good.
yeah.
Even if it pours, you'll be fine.
yeah, you're going to be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Much
No
better
ditch
road.
on either side.
I mean, I've been through worse in Romania, but yeah. Wow. So,
Okay, our family farm's about 5,000 acres. This is alfalfa. This is Sudan right here. There was lettuce here, and then we put Sudan in. This is sugar cane. It's an experimental crop. So we're
This is
experimenting.
sugarcane right here.
Right. We're experimenting with that. Go to the right, as close as to that ditch you can. You'll have less of a bump right here.
It looks like grass.
Well, it's a sugar cane, and it's
Yeah.
an experiment. I don't know whether it's going to work or not work.